Hey y'all, and welcome back to the Wannabe Author, the podcast that pulls back the curtain on the publishing world, traditional, self-publishing, and more. I'm your host, Sharon Christine, an author navigating the turns and plot twists of getting books into readers' hands. Here we get real about the wins, the rejections, and the lessons learned along the way. Whether you're chasing an agent, going self-published, or just curious how it all works, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hey y'all, and welcome back to the Wannabe Author. I'm your host, Sharon Christine, and today's episode is one I've been dying to share with y'all. Now, here on the Wannabe Author, I've been privileged to interview a wide range of guests, spanning from indie authors, traditionally published authors, book lovers, other industry professionals, to bestsellers, New York Times bestsellers, and other fun and exciting guests up and coming. But today's episode is really special because for the first time here on the Wannabe Author, we are joined by a literary agent. Now, if you know me, you know my story, you'll know that I put a lot of thought and care into picking and asking a literary agent to join us here on the Wannabe Author. And I was first connected with this agent through meeting their client. And this client just had so many praises and good words to share about this agent. And so I just knew without a doubt that we needed to get this agent on the podcast to hear her views on not only publishing but the querying process, what she hates about the querying process, and advice for other authors that are just barely making their way into the trenches or are in the deep pits of the trenches. Now, this literary agent works with the Rights Factory and has been working in publishing for years. She completed her undergraduate degree at the University of Toronto with a specialist in English and a minor in history, after which she attended Humber College's Creative Book Publishing program. She has had a lot of experience in working in the agent side of publishing, and when it comes to agenting, she takes a client's first approach, and it's very obvious and apparent in the way her clients talk about her and how she talks about her clients. I'm so excited for y'all to get to know this agent. I fell in love with her through this interview, and I know that you will too. It is my honor to introduce you all to literary agent, co-associate film and TV agent, and my friend, Alexandra D'Amico. Hi, Alex. Welcome to the Wannabe Author.
Hello, it's so good to be here.
So happy to have you here. This is actually so exciting because you're my first literary agent having onto the platform. So it is just so exciting that we'll be able to hear some of your thoughts and insight. But before I get too ahead of myself, because I know I will, I always love to start off my episodes with asking my guests, what are you currently reading?
I am currently doing a reread right now of my client Charla's book, Shrike. It comes out in October. It is the most atmospheric, lush, dark academia romantasy. I am absolutely in love with it, but I'm reading the new edit that's going to be out to the world. So it is a reread. It is one of my clients. I'm plugging her a little bit, but it's true. That's what I'm reading right now.
Love that. And as you should, as somebody who's following Charla and her adventure to getting this book out there, I am just so excited for this book. So yes, plug away. She deserves all the hype around this book. It's absolutely gorgeous.
It is, and it's like gonna live up to those vibes. It's something that I fell in love with at the beginning of this year when she originally queried me, and honestly, it's just been so amazing watching her on her journey. And so I'm so excited about it.
Love that. Love that. I'm so excited. Okay, everybody mark your calendars, and I will be making sure to put that in the episode notes. Okay, now I'm so excited to dive into you as a agent. My first question is kind of, what is your origin story? Like, what led you to becoming a literary agent, and what about the industry drew you to it?
Yeah, so I came into publishing kind of sidestepping into it a little bit. So I thought I was going to be a teacher. I was on the path to being a teacher, and I was doing my undergrad, and I was like about to apply for grad school, and I was like, I don't want to be a teacher. What else is out there for me? And I discovered a creative book publishing program in my city. And I applied for that. I got in and I took a summer intensive. So it was a intensive as the word will, lead into, like it's intense, but it was for 4 months. They taught us all about the publishing industry. And one of my courses on it was on agenting. And that's how I discovered that agenting was a role that I could pursue, that it combined everything that I loved. Contract negotiations, which I know is like the nerdiest thing for me to say, but I really do love contract negotiations. Helping clients, and there's an editorial aspect of it, there's a sales aspect of it, and I just got to do kind of everything and be right beside the author the entire journey through traditional publishing. And so I was like, this is where I want to be. And from there, I started working as an assistant and found my way to agenting through that. So it's been pretty amazing. It's been a wonderful journey. It's taken about 6 years to get to where I am right now, and I'm just so grateful for everything along the way.
Love that. And I love that you said you started out wanting to teach because I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm obviously not an agent, but I feel like there's probably an aspect to teaching a little bit, especially like if you're working with newer authors. Would I be right in saying that?
Absolutely. That's definitely something that I incorporate into the job. I think that this industry is extremely opaque and it's so guarded. I don't want to be a gatekeeper. I want to help give that information to whoever is looking to come into the industry. That includes my clients. But, platforms like this, your podcast, helping people understand the industry that are just like looking into it, it's really important, I think, for all of us to have an idea of um, the system and, not gatekeep.
I 100% agree with you. Okay. Now, I'm curious, and this kind of like, I guess, attributes to your MSWL. Did I say that right? Manuscript wish list? Yeah. But what genres or types of stories excite you the most right now?
I am loving the genre mashups. Horror romance is something that's so cool to me. I love horror, I love romance. Combining the two sounds incredible. Um, I'm also really just love horror in general. So I want to see more of that. I haven't really received a whole lot of horror queries in my inbox, so I'm looking for more. Um, don't get me wrong, I love romantasy, I love fantasy, but I think I'm just stepping away from that, looking for something new. And horror is definitely an area that excites me. I also love cozy stories. Um, I love hockey, and we're getting close to the hockey season again. So I'd love a hockey romance, specifically a sapphic one. That would be incredible. And then, of course, anything witchy. I love witches, they're perennial for me. So if you have a witchy book, that's one way to, you know, appeal to my heart.
Love. You have fantastic taste. I have a few authors I think I need to send your way, especially in the horror romance genre.
Oh,
But
please do. That would be incredible.
I got you. Okay. That's super fun. All right, now we're going to get into the query process, which we all know and love. But what is your least favorite part of the query process? I feel like we hear a lot of what authors' least favorite parts are, but as an agent, what is your least favorite part of the query process?
I think just like how time consuming it is, and it's it's not necessarily optimized, but I'll be the first one to admit that I'm not doing anything revolutionary when it comes to handling my queries. I don't even want to use Query Tracker or anything like that. I'm like, just put it in my inbox, I'll see it. If I have to go to another platform, I don't even want to have to like, you know, learn something. I know that's so backwards of me, but um what really breaks my heart about the whole query process is when there's a really amazing concept, but the execution is lacking. And I think that that author just kind of got too excited and um, threw a first draft in the works, right? And so it's unfortunate because developing your concept into something that, is worthy of being sent off is important. It's an important aspect. Editing and editorial processes are like so vital to the publishing system in general. Um, you're only as strong as your latest revision. So making sure that you're doing those revisions, so you're learning along the way, and sending out a query that's your best foot forward rather than your first draft is very important. Um, and I know that's probably something that others are saying too. It's nothing new. But yeah, it's heartbreaking for me to see sometimes. I hate sending those rejection letters when I'm like, oh, there's something that could be amazing here, but it needs work.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I think like you said, it was like some people might be saying that, but I think things like that need to be repeated. Like, and especially with new authors coming in, I think it's super important to keep repeating that. Because I mean, I'm totally a victim of it. I've definitely got excited and sent a first draft. Like, I won't lie. So I think that's perfect for you to say.
I think we all get overexcited sometimes, and that's natural. But I think, leading with your best foot forward is important, especially when you are kind of using up a chance, right? I think another mistake that authors might make when it comes to querying that maybe is not something that they've heard before is um, the phrases that they use. I get a lot of, um, this is a standalone with series potential, and I'm like, do you know what you're writing? To me, that sounds like they're pandering to what they think an agent wants to hear, and that it also breaks my heart because why are you giving me a false pretense? What is the story? What is your authentic version of the story? Is it a series? Is it a duology? Is it a standalone? Is it a trilogy? Whatever you have planned for your story, please give it to me in the way that you see it best being published because yeah, that standalone with serious potential doesn't really mean a whole lot. And I'm gonna be honest, it just shows me that there's a little bit of a lack of confidence in that author's query.
That's very interesting to hear you say that. Because I think I've even heard the advice to say that if you like know it's going to be a series. So I'm curious, do you feel like that's specific to you, or do you think more agents feel the same way as you?
Oh, I hope more agents feel the same way as me. And I've heard that advice, and I think it's like it doesn't make any sense to me, honestly. And I've had this conversation with agent friends of mine, with author friends of mine, with other people in the industry, and mostly I met with people who agree. But it really is just not authentic to the story you want to tell when you're saying that. If it's actually a standalone, then you can say that it's a standalone. If it's going to be a series and you're representing it as a standalone, that's a false pretense. And then I know right away that you're just pandering, like I said. And that's not authentic. That doesn't give me a lot of confidence in your ability to um, tell me a story that's real at the end of the day.
Love that. I love that you said that. Okay, I'm over here taking lots of notes. I hope you know that. Okay, what do you wish authors understood more about your side of the query process?
Oh, how long it takes. I always feel so bad. I try to reply to everybody as quickly as I possibly can, but sometimes my queries sit there for a while, especially the ones that I really want to give time to consider. Um, but, authors have to understand that looking through queries is not the top priority for most agents. And there are times during the year where it does become our a top priority. But most of the time, we're working on our clients' work. We're going through submissions. We're doing a lot of other things that take precedent. And so, if something is sitting in our inbox, that doesn't mean that we're never going to get to it. I try to respond to all of my queries. Sometimes that takes a long time. Um, but everybody will get a response eventually. Um, so yeah, the best advice that I have is just to be patient, and understand that we will get to them. I will get to them. I'll speak about me specifically. I will respond to everything that I receive. But just understand that it does take some time.
Love. Love. No, that makes total sense. Okay, now my next my following questions are regarding the author agent relationship. What do you look for in a client beyond just their writing?
This is such a good question, and there's so many different things that I look for. Like, are we able to communicate effectively? Are you willing to take my advice and actually, listen when I'm saying, like, this is how we should handle something? I am very much in conversation with all of my clients, but I want to make sure that my advice is trusted. If I think a client is going to not necessarily respect what I'm saying, then that's probably not somebody I want to work with. Maybe there's another agent out there that they'll mesh better with, and then that's the best relationship for them. Um, I think that this can be a very emotional process. We're dealing with, people's dreams, and that means a lot. So I want to make sure that that relationship between the two of us can be long lasting, and um, there's a lot of opportunity for open communication and respect on both sides.
Absolutely. I have very little experience with the author agent relationship, but I think communication is such a big deal. So I'm happy you mentioned that. And as somebody who's had a little bit of a relationship with your authors, I can say that you do really well at communicating and they just sing your praises. So just had
That's
to
so
back you up
sweet.
on that. Okay. What should an author expect in terms of communication with their agent? And not in just in check-ins regarding submission process and edits, but once a deal is made.
I mean, I would turn this back on the client. The way I operate is um, I meet the client with whatever style of communication they prefer. So if that means voice notes, that means voice notes. If that means email or video chats, that's how I communicate. And I will be as hands on or hands off as my clients need me to be. Sometimes that means communicating several times a week, and sometimes that means, check ins once a month. Um, some of my clients are very independent, and others want to, feel that connection a little bit more. So for me, I don't know that I would say, this is what you should expect from all of your agents that you come across. But with my relationships with my clients, I am making sure that their needs are met, whether that means more or less communication from me. Some of my clients don't want me to, talk to them every single day because that means that there's work to do and they don't want the extra emails in their inbox, and that's perfectly normal. That's fine. But some of them do want to know, this is a waiting game for most of publishing. Most of traditional publishing is a waiting game. And instead of waiting with, radio silence, just having somebody to communicate with helps ease their anxiety. So I'm happy to do that as well.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Is that like your communication style with each client, is that something you usually solidify before you sign with them, or do you feel like you do it afterwards?
It's kind of a little bit of a both, a both answer. um, I will start to have this conversation when I'm meeting with a client before I offer a rep. And then, it's open to change at different points throughout our relationship. Some clients have a day job, and so they can't be in constant communication. And then, some are also teachers who have time off, and then they have more time to be in communication, or they're back at school, and so they have less time. So it's something that we're constantly looking at and developing. One of my clients who at one point wanted a little bit less communication decided that monthly check-ins were something that she wanted at a later time, and so she just said that to me, and we made that happen. I think the best way to deal with my style of agenting is knowing that, well, having my clients know that my door is always open, and that I'm always open to changing how we're doing things, and making sure that it's working for them. So if they have any questions, or need a little bit extra, or want a little bit less, that they can communicate that with me, and I'm happy to accommodate them.
Love, love. Sorry, I I know I'm pulling questions out that I didn't originally send, but I'm like so curious. Okay.
It's all good. I'm here to chat. I love it.
Yay, I'm so glad. Okay. Now we're gonna get into the questions for advice for the wannabe authors that are currently listening and looking to get into the query trenches or are in the thick of it. But what advice do you have for authors? Oh, funny. What advice for sorry. What advice do you have for authors in the thick of the query trenches?
Yeah, my biggest advice is just be patient. This industry rewards perseverance in all different forms. So if you are really serious about this, then don't feel like it's going to go nowhere. The longer you stick it out, the more you're adamant about continuing the process, the more you'll be rewarded. And eventually, there will come a point where your book gets picked up. It might not be a week. And, comparing yourself to other authors is your worst enemy in this industry, because nothing is the same. It's such a everybody has a unique experience. And there are similarities, don't get me wrong, but when you're comparing between one author and another, you're comparing apples and oranges, and it'll just rob you of your resilience and your willingness to persevere through that. So stay patient, know that your time is coming, and continue to work hard to get there. Perseverance and hard work, it'll get you everywhere.
Love. And I love that you brought that up that not one journey is like the other. And I'm learning that so much in this little podcast setup I've got going with every author has had a different experience and it's so interesting to see. So I'm so glad you brought that up. Okay.
Yeah, and it's very true, even at, different stages, at the submission stage, after publication. There are through lines, absolutely, and there are going to be moments of similarities, but every journey is unique.
Love. Now, if a writer is on the fence between querying or self publishing, what should they consider or how would you advise them on their decision?
Well, one thing I'll say is that one is not better than the other. I have had authors who have gone from TradPub to self-publishing, and vice versa, from self-publishing to TradPub. There are benefits and downfalls to both, and so just making sure that what you're signing up for. With self-publishing, you're going to be doing a lot of the work. You're going to be fronting the money. for editorial, for covers, for marketing, for everything. And trad, you can expect a certain level of quality. You can expect to be paid on those deals. Whether it's a lot or a little is different for everybody. But you are not forking up money to get that published. And in exchange, you're not receiving the amount of freedom that you have with self-publishing. But I'll quote Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. So make sure that with that freedom, you're doing your due diligence to make sure that you're putting out a product that you're proud of. Um, and that can be hard if you don't have all of the resources available to you. Of course, again, clicking publish on a book and having it out there to the world, having it accessible immediately is a really amazing thing. So there are pros and cons to both. Just make sure that whatever you choose is right for you. I'll also say that you can go back and forth as long as a contract is not signed, but that doesn't mean that you can't pivot on your next book. So, whatever you choose, you can change your mind. If you decide after querying that you want to self publish, that is perfectly acceptable. And if you decide after being self published that you want to move to trad, that happens all the time. So, um, yeah, just make sure that you are making the right decision for yourself. And that's different for everybody.
Love, love. And as a Spider-Man fanatic myself, I think that quote was used very well.
Thank you.
Okay, now these are more of the fun questions, but outside of being an agent, what is a fun fact about you that most people don't know?
Okay. I hate talking about myself, so it took me a while to think of something. But I am a trained professional makeup artist, and I did that for a while during my undergrad. Um, and I really enjoy that aspect of myself because it's creative in a completely different way. Um, I also really enjoy special effects makeup. I was trained in it, but I never worked in special effects. I mostly worked in beauty makeup, so pageants, fashion shows, um, the search for Canada's Next Top Model I did at one point, which was really like cool. I don't really talk about that often, but that is a little tidbit of my past. But I do love special effects makeup and I love horror, as we talked about. I love horror movies. And practical effects is such an amazing art form that I love and appreciate mostly because I learned the backside of it, the back end of it. I learned how those effects are created and how much art goes into it and how much time goes into it and the creativity throughout the whole process. So even when I'm watching horror movies, I'm still engaging that part of my brain, um, maybe more so than the regular person. I love gore for that reason. I'm like, this isn't scary or disgusting, it's art. And for me, it really is. So that's probably something that people don't know about me.
I love that, and we can relate on that. I went to school and became a pro makeup artist, but I only did weddings. So, but
Not
I love
only,
that.
weddings are a big part of the industry. That's amazing.
Good point. They're scary. They're scary,
They are.
but
They are. It's a lot of
uh,
work.
some of those ladies are scary.
Oh, I know. We honestly will probably have to talk about that at a later time.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, love that. That's so fun. Okay, now if you weren't an agent, what job do you think you'd have?
I mean, this is hard because I took a lot of paths to get here. We talked about my makeup artistry background. We talked about the fact that I wanted to go into teaching at one point. I had various customer service jobs. I worked at a library once. The library was amazing. So honestly, I'm not sure where I would go. I have a big selection of areas that I could fall back to. Um, but I think that life prepares you in ways that you're not always aware of at the time. So I learned something from each of those experiences that helps to inform how I am as an agent. And, even my job at a rec center um, definitely showed me how to handle shitty situations calmly. And I mean that full pun intended.
I love that. Love that. Well, we are glad you're an agent because I mean, it sounds like you just care so much for your clients, and so glad you came here. But I can totally see what you're saying. Like the different paths we take, they totally lead up and add up to help us get to where we are now. So I love that you mentioned that. Now, what is next for you? And it can also be what's next for your clients. Anyone you want to plug? Anything going on?
Well, today we just announced a book deal for one of my clients, the wonderful Katie. She wrote it's so amazing, this beautiful atmospheric Southern Gothic story. It's historical fiction as well. It's called The Southern Sorority of Superstitious Witches. It was sold to Alcove Press and it's going to be released in fall 2026. I'm so excited about it. I think readers are definitely going to connect to this like cozy Southern Gothic world. It's extremely feminist, and I'm just really excited for readers to get their hands on it. And then, of course, we talked about Shrike, which is coming out next month. Oh my goodness, it's like almost exactly a month and 3 days away. That's exciting. And if you love Hosier, if you love dark academia and romantasy, you will love Shrike. And then I'm really excited personally because I'm going to be going to the Frankfurt Book Fair next month as well, which is going to be the first book fair that I'm attending as an agent. And I'm going to be joining my colleagues at the Rights Factory there. So, along with all of my fall submissions, of course, this is definitely an exciting season. Um, so, lots, lots of big things coming up ahead.
That is so exciting. Congratulations on all of that. That is so fun. I'm very, very excited for you. And I saw that deal announcement. So excited for you and Katie. That is so exciting.
Thank
Congratulations.
you so much. Yeah, it's amazing for her. I mean, she's so deserving, but all of my clients are, they all work so hard, and it's always so special to be able to announce a deal to the world and say, it's happening. Finally, it's happening.
That's so awesome. Alex, I just want to take a second to thank you so much for joining us here today. Truly, when I wanted to get an agent here on the platform, I really kept in mind wanting somebody who their clients talked well about them and that they focused on communication. And I've followed you for a minute on social media and I've seen you just shout your clients out like crazy. And you're just so fun and authentic. And so, thank you so much. It's been truly a privilege to hear from you. And I'm so excited to cheer you and your clients on as these deals move forward. But thank you again for joining me here today.
Thank you. It was so incredibly sweet of you to say, and it's been awesome talking to you and getting to know you a little bit too. Um, Please don't fade away, keep DMing me. Let's keep the conversations going. Because it's been just a treat to meet you. It really has. And I love what you're doing with this podcast and bringing all of this education to, writers everywhere. The wannabe author, of course.
Thank you. Thank you. And yes, you're kind of stuck with me now. I think we're friends. So, yeah, I won't be fading
Abs-
away anytime soon.
I don't
Okay.
let go of friends either.
Yes, me either. Love it. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and close out with the listeners, but I'd love for you to stick around for a minute afterwards. Thank y'all for being here, and we will see y'all next Thursday. Bye.